Research conducted by non-government organizations shows that about 1.1 million people live in poverty in Hong Kong. In an exclusive interview with China Daily, Michael Tien Puk-sun, a legislator and member of the Commission on Poverty, singles out the shortage of affordable housing as a major cause of poverty in Hong Kong.
People are living in increasingly small space, worse and worse environment, at increasing rentals. This is a twofold result actually. One is due to the past many years, ever since I think around the year 2000, when our first chief executive introduced this 85,000 target, and then of course with the Asian financial turmoil, all hell broke loose, all right? And all the property prices plummeted, leading to Mr. Tung leaving office, and then the next chief executive, Mr. Zhang, coming in, and he learned to stay away from getting burnt, so he chose to do nothing about increasing land supply for the fear that property prices would collapse again, and left it up to the free market. And in so doing, there's a tremendous lack of land supply in that 7-8 years, creating huge demand and very little supply. Coupled with our exchange link with the US dollar, where we are currently experiencing inflation in Hong Kong, not at a near zero level. The end result is massive asset inflation. People have nowhere to put their money except all into property, so property prices skyrocketed. Landlords are going after a reasonable return, so they keep increasing rent. And then with limited supply and a captive market, that is what created our poverty situation today. So it's totally a housing situation.
Tien holds that Chief Executive C.Y. Leung is doing the right thing by increasing land and housing supplies. However, Tien notes that Leung needs to be careful in order not to halt development of other spheres of interest for the sake of housing.
He's stepping on the gas pedal, trying to get land from everywhere, almost to the extreme of halting development of any other area except housing. All right, that needs to be he needs to be a little bit more careful with that. In the meantime, through the Committee of Poverty, they are pumping massive money into helping the poor as a relief, knowing that part of it will go into the pockets of the landlord, but I don't think they have any choice. I mean, reluctantly, I would have to support it. Otherwise, you're going to have many years where this group of people, which is a few 100,000 in Hong Kong, living in a worse and worse environment. All right, so maybe I'm just hoping that we appeal to the landlord, all right, who are leasing these flats to this group of people, that they think more about, a little bit more about their social responsibility, all right? If taxpayers' money are being spent on helping these people live better, they really should hold off and not increase rent so much. I think that is the part where we need to do more. There has to be more voices coming out, appealing to these landlords.
Tien sees no need for legislated standard working hours. He holds that mutual agreements taking into consideration the actual operations of individual industries and their employees is a more flexible option than legislation.
I supported minimum wage because it is easy to understand, and it definitely target a certain group of the people, and it has helped them. Standard working hours is very complex. If you look at all the countries that have adopted standard working hours, they introduce a lot of exemptions. By the time you're done with all these exemptions, you're actually really only going after a small group of workers, all right? And since it is not maximum working hours, but standard working hours, it doesn't really help in terms of striking a better work-life balance, because the employer can still demand that the employee do overtime, all right, under standard working hours, except they will have to pay overtime, all right? So it doesn't really help the work-life balance part. People think it will help workers being exploited currently by employers by not having paid overtime. That, I think, is adequately covered by our current ordinance governing employment. that when an employer asks an employee to stay behind for overtime work, they have to be paid. All right? So I don't see that we necessarily need standard working hours to enforce this rule. This is already there.